Okay, so buckle up, because today we are diving headfirst into Andy Weir's project Hail Mary.
Yeah, we're talking pure sci-fi goodness here.
But don't worry if you haven't quite cracked the spine on this one, or if astrophysics isn't your thing.
We're here to break it all down.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to unpack those what-if scenarios.
The really cool stuff.
The stuff that just makes you look up at the stars and think a little differently.
And he's got a way of throwing those curveballs right from the get-go.
Oh, yeah.
Like, imagine this for a second.
Okay.
You wake up, you're strapped to a bed,
Uh-oh.
you have no memory, and the gravity feels like it's trying to turn you into a pancake.
Talk about a rude awakening.
That's how he starts the book, and it's brilliant.
It
Because
really pulls you in.
it pulls you right. We feel that disorientation right alongside the protagonist.
And you're kind of left scrambling for answers just like him.
Exactly. And it's through his eyes, through his very scientific mind, slowly piecing things together, that we start to realize, oh, okay, we are not on Earth anymore.
Not even close.
Nope, this is a whole new world of weird.
And thank goodness that protagonist has more brain power than your average amnesiac.
He's going to need it.
Because Earth is in a bit of a bind.
That's putting it lightly.
Yeah, a cosmic pickle, you might say.
Enter Astrophage.
No,
Not exactly the most intimidating name, but trust me, this is one villain you don't want to mess with.
this is not your typical bad guy.
No giant space monsters or evil empires here.
It's a microbe.
A tiny little thing, really.
Yeah.
But boy, does it pack a punch.
Talk about an invasive species.
Yeah.
This thing is basically having an all-you-can-eat buffet on the sun's energy.
And it's invited all its friends.
Yeah, Earth's RSVP got lost somewhere in the intergalactic mailroom.
It's wild, though. You know what I find really fascinating about how Weir writes about astrophage?
What's that?
He manages to make these microbes feel both totally alien and kind of familiar at the same time.
How so?
Well, they have a life cycle. They consume CO2 for fuel, just like plants do here on Earth.
Right.
But instead of using that energy for growth, they emit light.
Right.
Light. And that's what propels them through space.
So it's like their version of photosynthesis and rocket fuel all rolled into one.
Exactly. It's like Weir took a look in the weirdest stuff in Earth's biology and said, hold my beer, I can top that.
And he does.
He absolutely does.
But here's the thing.
What's that?
Astrophage, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, it gets weirder.
Oh, yeah. We got to talk about our amnesiac protagonist, remember him.
The one strapped to the bed, yeah.
That's the one. It turns out his name is Ryland Grace, and he's not just any scientist.
Who is he?
He is humanity's last hope.
Ryland Grace, yeah. It's a name that kind of screams reluctant hero, doesn't it?
It does have a certain ring to it.
But here's the thing. He's not out there, battling aliens with laser guns or anything like that.
Right. Not your typical action hero.
No, his weapon of choice is his brain.
Pure brain power.
Which is good because Weir throws us right into the thick of it.
Yeah.
With Grace trying to understand Astrophage, figure out where he is, and, oh yeah, remember who he is.
All while strapped to a bed in a tin can hurtling through space.
Basically.
Talk about a high-pressure work environment.
No kidding.
But okay, before we get too deep into the nitty-gritty of Grace's scientific sleuthing,
Okay.
we gotta address the elephant-sized spaceship in the room.
Let's hear it.
The Hail Mary project, because, let's be honest, when a microbe is munching on your son, you gotta think big.
And big might be an understatement.
Right. Imagine the world's superpowers, right? The same ones who were ready to nuke each other a few weeks ago. They're suddenly holding hands, pooling resources, all in the name of stopping astrophage.
It's kind of heartwarming when you think about it.
In a weird, apocalyptic kind of way.
Exactly. And what do they do with all those resources?
Well, they build a ship naturally.
It's just your average spaceship.
Oh, this isn't just any ship. It's a technological marvel jam-packed with enough scientific equipment to make Stephen Hawking jealous.
Okay. I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So they pack this ship with the best and brightest humanity has to offer, put them in a medically induced coma, and blast them off to a distant star, Tau Ceti.
Why Tau Ceti?
Because it seems to be immune to astrophage. It's like finding a pristine rainforest in the middle of a desert.
So it's their best hope for a solution.
That's the gamble, anyway. It's a pretty big leap of faith when you think about it.
Makes you wonder what it would actually take, for humanity to put aside its differences and really focus on a common enemy.
Or in this case, a tiny sun-guzzling microbe.
Right. Because who needs world peace when you've got astrophage to worry about?
Exactly. Priorities. But speaking of our intrepid hero, remember Ryland Grace waking up from that coma millions of miles from Earth?
Oh yeah, things are about to get interesting.
That's an understatement. He wakes up and realizes he's got company.
Company. Like other humans.
Not quite say hello to Rocky.
Rocky. Who's Rocky?
Rocky is an Iridian, a being from a planet orbiting Tau Ceti.
Okay, now we're talking.
And forget those Hollywood aliens, big heads, glowing eyes.
Right.
Rocky is something else entirely.
I'm all ears.
Imagine a 5-limbed crustacean, incredibly strong breathing ammonia, with a language based on musical chords.
It's like we're reached into the weirdest, most wonderful tide pool on Earth and said, now make it alien.
Pretty much. And yet somehow he makes it work.
That's the beauty of Weir's writing, though, isn't it? He doesn't just throw these two wildly different beings together and expect us to believe they'll become buddies.
Right, there's no magical universal translator here.
Nope. He breaks down that communication barrier piece by piece, and it's fascinating.
Totally agree. So first there's the whole number system thing. Iridians, they use base 6, not our base 10. Which means their entire understanding of math is fundamentally different.
It's like trying to explain the color blue to someone who's only ever seen red.
It's a really clever way of showing how even the most basic concepts can be totally alien.
Okay, that's cool. But what about their actual language? You said something about musical chords.
Oh yeah, it's wild. Their language is based on sound frequencies, specifically musical chords.
So instead of speaking, they're essentially humming to each other.
Pretty much. Can you imagine having to hum your way through a scientific equation?
My brain hurts just thinking about it.
It's both hilarious and mind-blowing to picture.
But beyond those initial hurdles, the numbers and the humming, there's this whole other layer of cultural understanding that has to happen.
Oh, absolutely. The way they perceive time, their social structures, even their sense of humor.
What's Iridian humor like?
Let's just say it's a little offbeat. But that's what makes their interactions so interesting.
It's true. You've got these two completely different species with different ways of thinking, different ways of experiencing the world,
Yeah.
and yet they find a way to connect.
Exactly. And it's through that connection, that shared desire to understand astrophage, that they start to make some real progress.
They need each other to solve this thing.
They absolutely do. And their collaboration, that willingness to bridge that cultural and biological divide, well, it leads them to a groundbreaking discovery.
Hit me with it.
A companion star to Tau Ceti, a place called Adrian.
Adrian, okay, what did they find there?
Let's just say it's not just a scientific marvel, it's a whole new level of cosmic awe.
I am on the edge of my seat here.
Good, because Adrian, this is where things get really interesting.
Do it.
Okay, so Adrian, it's a gas giant, right?
Right, but not just any gas giant.
Oh.
This one has an incredibly dense atmosphere and gravity that would crush a human like a bug.
Yikes. Sounds cozy.
But here's the real kicker. It's also home to the key to stopping astrophage.
Wait, seriously, you're telling me the cure to this whole sun-eating microbe problem is just hanging out on a planet that could crush a tank?
Pretty much they're called Tamoba.
Tamuba. Okay, so we've got Tamuba, these microscopic heroes chilling on a planet that's basically trying to turn everything into a pancake. It's like finding out the cure for a global pandemic is living in a volcano.
That's weird for you, always keeping things interesting. But as with anything in Project Hail Mary, it's not as simple as just scooping up some Tamoeba and calling it a day.
I bet it's never that easy.
Nope, these little guys are delicate and getting them back to Earth. Well, that's where things get really tricky.
Because they're light years away from Earth, right? It's not like they can just hop in a spaceship and fire up the warp drive.
Exactly, and those Tamoeba, they're not going to survive a cross-galaxy road trip in a petri dish.
So what do?
Remember those beetle probes?
Vaguely, they launched them from Earth, right?
Yeah. Alongside the Hail Mary. Initially, they were designed for communication, sending messages back and forth.
Right.
But now they become something much bigger, miniature arcs.
They repurposed them to carry the Tamoeba.
Exactly. It's pure genius. They modify these probes, create mini environments perfect for Tamoeba, and launch them back towards Earth, hoping against hope that at least a few of them will make it.
Talk about a long shot, but hey, the entire Hail Mary mission has been one long shot after another.
That's true. But with those beetles on their way, it's time for Grace and Rocky to say goodbye.
Because Rocky, he's got his own planet to save, right?
Yeah, he's got a whole civilization counting on him to come back with a solution.
It's kind of bittersweet when you think about it, these two unlikely friends from different worlds, risking everything to save their own people.
It's a powerful reminder that even in the face of extinction, hope and friendship can still exist.
Well said. So Grace, he's alone again on a damaged ship with dwindling resources and a whole lot of space between him and Earth.
You'd think that would be enough drama for one book, but this is Andy Weir we're talking about.
There's always another twist, isn't there? What happens next?
Remember those Tamoebas? The ones they brought on board to study?
Oh, no, you're not going to tell me they got loose.
Let's just say they got a little too comfortable.
And by comfortable, you mean?
They staged a jailbreak.
Are you kidding? Those tiny little microbes?
Hey, don't underestimate them. They may be small, but they're resourceful, and they're multiplying.
And that's a problem because...
Because they're threatening Grace's remaining astrophage fuel supply.
Oh no, the very fuel he needs to get home.
Yep, talk about a worst-case scenario.
So what happens? Does he make it?
What do you think?
I mean, this is Andy Weir. I'm going to go with yes, but it's probably a close call.
You know him too well. Let's just say our boy Grace, he uses every ounce of his ingenuity, his scientific brilliance, and that stubborn human will to survive, to overcome this final hurdle. He contains the amoeba, though not without some serious nail-biting moments, and manages to limp his ship back to Earth, delivering the precious amoeba and saving humanity.
That's our guy. What a hero. So what's the final verdict? Is Project Hail Mary worth adding to the must-read list?
Absolutely. It's a wild ride from start to finish, a story about survival, about the power of curiosity and the incredible things we can accomplish when we work together, even when that together includes a 5-limbed, ammonia-breathing alien from a distant star.
Beautifully said. And there you have it, folks. Another deep dive complete. Until next time, keep looking up at the stars, and remember, sometimes the biggest discoveries come from the smallest creatures, and the most unlikely friendships can blossom in the strangest of places.